Welcome back to Inspired Forward, everyone. I'm Dan Trinidad, and today we have nationally recognized loan officer and coach Scott Groves. Scott's is a husband, he's a father, he's a leader, he's a coach, and a loan officer in that order. Over the last 17 years, he and his team has originated over $750 million in home loans. He is a stud, and I'm really excited to have him on the show today. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks. I really appreciate it, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you bet. So let's start off by basically you introducing us to your story, how you got into the mortgage business, maybe what you did a little bit before that had you, desire to shift into our industry, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I'll try to keep this to 60 seconds, but I think I've got a pretty similar origin story to every other successful loan officer is, nobody goes to high school or college or works for their parents growing up saying, yeah, I'm going to be a loan officer and look at tax returns all day and cold call realtors. Like, that's really not in anybody's lexicon. I think being a mortgage loan officer is one of the great secret professions in America where you can make a great living kind of at any educational level if you're willing to work really hard. So I actually went straight from high school into the Army, got out of the Army and started working part-time at Washington Mutual. So I was doing college plus part-time, teller, new accounts type stuff. And I was such a bad teller that a few months into working at Washington Mutual, they said, well, we can either fire you because you're consistently out of balance by a few pennies, a few bucks, and we know you're not stealing the money, but we also have a standard here. So we can either fire you as a teller or we can promote you to doing loans because you seem like you speak pretty well to the clients and you build good rapport and you seem kind of like a natural salesperson. So you can get fired or have a promotion. And I took the promotion. Shortly after that, ended up dropping out of college because this was 2000 and the mortgage industry was taking off, rode that wave up. Having come out of the Army making $17,000 a year, I thought working at a bank making 100 grand was all the money in the world. So I lived like I was making 500 grand, nearly went bankrupt and starved just along with everybody else in 2009, and then really refocused, moving away from the banks, going into the retail mortgage side of the business and focusing on purchase business and really, rebuilding the purchase business, which you can hear bings and dings and typing and stuff going off in my office because we're still originating, myself and my partner, Justin, we're still originating somewhere around 120 to 130 million a year here in Los Angeles, California. So not quite as many units as doing 120 million a year in, say, Overland Park, Kansas, or Nebraska, or some of the more rural areas, but still 200 loans a year. And he and I have partnered together so that he can focus on some things he wants to do. I can focus on coaching, and we both have young families. So it's been a wild ride doing this for almost 20 years now.
Yeah. So 200 loans a year is quite an accomplishment. There's not a lot of people that are doing 200 loans a year. So congratulations. So maybe give me a little bit of a history on your ramp up with production. So, at the bank as a loan officer, you were probably getting bank customers, but talk about that transition and what you did specifically to grow it.
Yeah. So, just like everybody else who came out of pick a company, right? AmeriQuest or WAMU or Countrywide, coming out of the 2000s. If you got in early 2000s and almost got out 2009, 2010, the whole world was stated income. We started with home equity line of credits that were auto approvals up to 250, and then we had option arms, and then we had stated income, and then at the very end there was Ninja, no income, no assets, and just crazy stuff like that. And so really coming out of 2010, I had to go to YouTube. I had to take some of the certified financial planner courses. I had to go back and read a bunch of cross-training manuals from Washington Mutual just to understand how to read tax returns, what's mortgage insurance. I remember the first FHA loan that I did, first FHA loan in 2010. I think I had to go watch a YouTube on the Wells Fargo YouTube channel just to understand upfront versus monthly mortgage insurance. And so there was a lot of that craziness going on. And it was really, if I consider the first 9 years of my career at Washington Mutual, it was almost like a brand new career starting in 2010, because if you remember, they just flipped that switch and they said, no more stated income.
Right.
And a lot of people got out of the business because they simply didn't know how to look at tax returns or understand corporate returns. And I was very, very blessed that between the Certified Financial Planner, CFP training, that I was taking at UCLA as like an extension course, and also Washington Mutual's cross training, where they also wanted you to talk to clients about wealth and open IRA accounts. I was super, super blessed that I got some of that training, because it's the only thing that kept me alive, coming out of 2009, 2010.
Yeah, I mean, in the early 2000s, well, until 2010, I think there were a lot of order takers. It was loans fell on our laps, rates were low, anybody can get one, and we were primarily order takers, and the survivors, the people that are surviving and doing exceptionally well, like you are in the industry today, you're not order takers anymore. You're relationship managers. You're and you're a true professional, adding value to your customers and real estate agents. So when did you start like doing some serious volume? And so what I find with our loan officers, once they get up to 6 to 10 a month, that's when all of a sudden your schedule becomes a little overwhelming, and you need to focus on building the team. When was it that you started focusing on building a team and scaling your business even bigger?
Yeah, great question. So again, coming out of 2009, 2010, everybody has the horror story, made $18,000 that year or something, recommitted to purchase business, got very lucky that 3 companies in a row, starting with Prospect Mortgage and then Movement Mortgage, and then most recently New American Funding. 3 companies in a row had good mentors, good ops, pricing good enough to compete, and each one had some type of strategic advantage that let me grow my business. So, at Prospect Mortgage, they were really big into joint ventures. It was the first time I got to go sit in a real estate office and grow my business by, the osmosis of just sitting around realtors all day, back when a deal was really hard to come by. And then I went to Movement, and Movement Mortgage was building loans faster than anybody else at a time when the market was very competitive. And that's when I had my best individual personal production year. Then I partnered up with my team member, Justin, and we came to New American Funding because maybe the speed or the in-house relationship wasn't as important at that point in our career. And at this point in our career, the most important thing was product mix. So, we came to a company that had product mix. So I think loan officers that are looking at growing their production, from 2010 to about 2016, I doubled my production every year, strategically, going from about $3 million in production up to about $90 million in production over the course of 6 years. And then frankly, my personal production has tapered off a little bit, probably substantially, as Justin and I have partnered. We've invested some more time in our family. We've invested more time in our side business. I enjoyed this conversation with you, Dan, and we had it on the calendar for a while, but it's 45 minutes that I'm not calling for refinance leads right now. And to me, that's a fine trade-off, because I'm trying to grow the brand and the book that I just wrote and the coaching program and whatnot. But as far as personal production, that ramp up took about 5 or 6 years to go from effectively 0 to almost $100 million producer. I never hit 100 million. It was like 98.2. So I failed in that.
You're too modest, man.
And really what it ended up being is every year we added about 1 body. So in my mind, if people are looking for a metrics for success, I feel that each body who reports directly to a team, we'll call it, should add about 5 units. So a standalone loan officer, in my opinion, if they're working hard, they're educating, they're putting in the hustle, they're educating, meaning they're getting education, and they're also trying to educate their realtor partners, they should be able to get to about 5 loans a month before the wheels start to come off. And then you have to find either an upfront associate, a contract to close associate, an executive assistant, a marketing assistant. You got to find somebody to take the burden off to go from about 5 to 10 loans a month, and then 10 to 15, 15 to 20. A real top producing team doing 20 challenging transactions a month. Because let's be real, we're not probably, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably don't work at a bank where you're getting walk-in clients and you can sell rate. You probably have to sell service or some type of marketing angle or some type of speed of execution. I think 3 to 4 people for 15 to 20 deals is kind of that sweet spot of you can have an awesome career with a little bit of management training. You can delegate just enough to where you can actually leave at 5 o'clock and still take care of your health and your wealth and your family. But 20 loans, 15 loans, anywhere in America at any comp plan, you're crushing it. You're in the top 1% of loan officers and you're making a really healthy living. So,
No, what are those 3 or 4 people doing?
it depends. I don't think there is a prescriptive method. Obviously there's some coaching programs out there that say, okay, you have to exactly have this person doing that and this person doing the back end and this person doing the marketing. I don't claim to be the operational guru. And I think everybody works so much differently that you have to hire people in succession of the things that you are core competent about, but you hate doing. And here's what I mean by that. If you're not core competent about something, you will never be able to teach that to somebody else. So if you're on this call or you're listening to this call and you're thinking about making your first hire, your third hire, your fourth hire, and you're like, well, you know what? I really got to hire somebody to do income analysis because I don't like doing income analysis. I'm not good at it and I hate it. Well, that's a recipe for disaster because you're going to bring somebody in and not be able to train them to the standard of what you need. But if you're excellent at income analysis and you're like, you know what, I know how to do that all day long. I can slice and dice some 1120s and pull income out of that to help my client qualify, but I'm just sick of doing it. Frankly, again, if I never look at a tax return again, I'll be happy. So we need to hire somebody to do the thing which we hate doing, but that we can teach at a high level. And then eventually you end up getting 2, 3, 4, 5 bodies in the room that can do everything that you taught them to do at a high level. They can do it and hopefully enjoy it more than you. You've now eliminated everything off your calendar that you hate, and you can just focus on the good stuff. Like for me, it's lead generation. Shameless plug for my book, Lead Generate, 61 Days to Double Your Pay. I like to lead generate. I like to pick up the phone and call people. I like the challenge of scheduling new coffee appointments with new realtors. A lot of people hate that. So I partnered with a guy, Justin, who's world class at setting up files and knowing guidelines and dissecting tax returns, all the shit I don't want to do, but I know how to do. And he partnered with somebody who's a sociopath and likes picking up the phone and making 50 cold calls a week because he can do that, but he just hates it. So, that's why the partnership works. And I think that's how people need to be thinking when they're looking to hire the next person.
Man, I love it. I love it. So you're doing mortgages, you're growing. So when did the shift, not a shift, but when did, I know you're a coach as well. So when did you decide I can pour myself into people and help them grow and start your coaching practice?
Yeah, I mean, like most loan officers, I've got a touch or maybe a full-blown case of SOS, which is shiny object syndrome. It's very, very, very easy for me to find new projects to go off on a path and start working on. Part of the tension in our office is my business partner and our other team members taking all my crazy ideas, correlating them, sifting through them, and then trying to figure out which ones will actually stick and be a good business idea. Because I could come up with a new project, software, something to do every single day. So about 4 or 5 years ago, when things were going very well at Movement Mortgage and you end up being the top of the leaderboard, people just call you. Hey, can I get 5 minutes for this? Can I get 10 minutes for this? Can I pick your brain about that? And each of those conversations were extending into 20, 30-minute conversations because I do genuinely really like to help people. I've got some personality traits that rub people the wrong way for certain, but in general, my partner likes to say that I'm a, intellectual philanthropist. Like I like giving out any knowledge I've acquired because I really just like helping people. And so what I did is I ended up formalizing those calls that were coming in on a daily basis into a half-hour call that expanded to an hour call. And now we do 10 minutes every single day on some type of lead generation or mortgage building business tip, tactic, strategy, whatever the case may be. And then we do a couple deep dive 1-hour coaching calls twice a month. And so it was, I hate to use the word organically. I think that gets way overused, but it really was just these organic conversations turned into a webinar, that turned into a platform, and then it turned into, hey, there's a couple bucks to be made here. So we offer a very low cost coaching model. And I can offer that because I still make 90% of my money off of mortgage origination, and I just like helping people.
How many people are you currently coaching?
We've got 220 people in our daily coaching program. So we've got 220 loan officers from around the country. They represent probably 60 different companies. And then I currently coach 5 people privately, but frankly, there's a waiting list for that because I'm already up at 4:30 every morning, and I have to get all the coaching stuff out of the way by 8 a.m. or my partner would kill me. So there's a waiting list because we can't scale individual coaching. So we're trying to come up with some solutions.
How did you get to 220 people?
Facebook, quite frankly, offering a lot of free value on Facebook, a lot of coaching videos on Facebook. I have a group. If anybody would like to join, it's 100% free. It's just called the Consolidated Coaching Mortgage Loan Officer Group, Consolidated Coaching. So from that group, what we have found is, just like as many realtors as a loan officer might call or clients in your database, about 10% on an annual basis end up converting to, clients that will do a mortgage with you. Same thing we find in the Facebook group. I've got about 2,500 people in the Facebook group. About 10% become, paying coaching members. So it's the same metric in coaching as it is in realtor contacts, as it is in database management. It's about 10% end up putting money in your pocket of the sphere of influence you have.
Now, how much of your day are you spending coaching or growing the coaching company compared to your loan origination?
Yeah, I spend an hour a day doing private coaching with individuals who pay for once a week private coaching. I spend about another hour a day prepping, managing, executing on the 10-minute lead gen call, and then probably about a half hour a day checking in with the 2 employees I have through the coaching company. So it's probably about 2.5 to 3 hours a day of managing the coaching business, 7 to 10 hours a day of managing the loan business. And then, another 4 to 5 hours a day trying to get with family, gym, personal time, things of that nature. So it's a long day. Starts every day at 4:30.
Okay. So when, in your entrepreneurial spirit, when did you decide I'm going to write a book?
That's a good question. I had written a book in the Army that was a fiction book, and then I got so pissed off at the process, I deleted it, which I was a little bummed out about. So I'll rewrite that fiction book one day. But as far as the business, your average business book is about 35,000 to 40,000 words. And at some point in this Google Doc that I was keeping, I had 560,000 words of transcribed coaching calls that I thought were great, a couple keynotes that I had given, my own thoughts of starting and stopping on, different book ideas and projects. So I finally hired a writing coach. Coaches need coaches too. Great program, by the way, called Self-Publishing School. Big shout out to my buddy Chandler Bolt. Just look him up on Facebook if you're thinking about writing a book or getting some.
I've heard his name before. Somebody mentioned it.
He's awesome. Chandler Bolt, SPS. Self-Publishing School. So I hired him and his team as a coach, and they basically put me on a system, and they're like, okay, we got to strip this down. We got to find the core principles. And they basically told me, you have 7 volumes of business books here. Let's pick one and start there. And we started with lead generation because, the time management, the money management, the growing a team, the growing better systems, which my business partner and I need help with. If there's any systems experts out there listening, give us a call. We're looking for somebody. Nothing happens until a lead is generated. Until you have somebody that wants to buy the product you're selling, it almost doesn't matter what your product is. That's why we're seeing the rise of things like Indiegogo and Kickstarter, because people have to generate a lead and generate revenue frequently before they can even build the freaking product. And so that's where I wanted to start. And, Dan, I get criticized a lot because when I am debating or arguing or trying to be inflammatory with somebody on Facebook, or we're having a discussion, or there's some type of debate and somebody's trying to tell me how to run my career, I will frequently just compare production numbers. Most of that stuff is public record. And my thought is not that I'm trying to bully someone or intimidate somebody or take the moral high ground because I do more production per se, or my business partner and I do more production. What I'm trying to get out there is that, hey guys, until leads are generated and until you have deals to close, all this other stuff is just semantics. fighting over what channel you want to work in or which company is better or whose pricing is better. All that shit is bullshit until you generate leads and make sales. And so I don't want to argue with somebody, nor do I want to have a debate about how I'm going to run my career with somebody that has proven that they can only generate 2 deals a month. Like no judgment on that person for only wanting to generate 2 deals a month, although I think there's problems with that, and we can get into that in a minute if you like. No judgment of that person. There's a lot of people that have carved out a really great living for themselves closing 2 deals a month. But I want to take advice from people that are hitting lead generation hard.
Sure.
No, I'm Dan Trinidad. Our company produces 57 loans a month. And so long story about writing a book, but I think everything in our industry boils down to lead generation, and we all need to be taking that more seriously.
So what time of the day did you write your book? What was your, how'd you get it done with all this other stuff you're doing?
Well, I wrote every morning from about 5:30 to 6. And then at one point following Chandler Bolt's whole workflow, and I won't give away a secret sauce of how you build your spreadsheets and your chapter lists and stuff like that. At one point, I just told my wife and kids, hey, I got to throw myself totally out of balance. I'm going to go lock myself in a hotel room for 4 days down in Huntington Beach. And I just wrote for 4 days straight and finished the book in like 72 hours.
Holy cow.
It's way easier than you think once you outline all the chapters in a prescriptive nature. Just pay the whatever it is now.
I love talking to people that have accomplished a lot in a relatively short period of time. I mean, it's very, very impressive. Coaching, writing about it, and still producing. I stopped producing back in 91 because I wanted to grow my company. And ever since, I kind of wish I still had it going because I love that part of the business so much. But so you mentioned you spend 4 or 5 hours a day, family, health, those kinds of things. Give me an idea of how you fit all that in. How do you create, that so-called balance for yourself?
Well, the first thing is, let's just point out all the flaws, right? My business partner and I have plenty of tension because we're not doing nearly as many loans as we think we should be doing with the awesome staff that we have. And, we've both got frustrations over where each of us are spending our time and our free time and how that invades on our business time. So let's be clear that we've got plenty of business problems just like everybody else. I'm still 12 pounds overweight, just ask my doctor. So the health isn't perfect, but I'm not, morbidly obese, walking around taking a heart attack. My wife is awesome, but she is a saint. And, there's a good possibility I don't give her enough of my time. And I think I'm a pretty good father, but I'm not, world-class father of the year. And my kids have not entered those ages yet where there's T-ball and all that stuff. So I'm doing a lot of things well. I'm not doing anything perfect. So I don't ever want to claim that I have it all figured out. Because I think one of the dangers in making those kind of statements or even positioning a conversation that way is this idea that anybody, and I wrote about it a little bit in the book, this idea that anybody has this great work-life balance is bullshit. You show me anybody who's a hard charger, a top producer, somebody who's in a fully commissioned job who's thriving, and you give them a couple drinks or a little bit of truth serum, they'll be like, yeah, when I'm at home with my family, I feel guilty that I'm not focusing on work. And when I'm focusing on work and I'm spending so many hours in the office, I feel guilty that I'm not, with my family. And when I'm at the office, I'm not working on my side project, which is maybe going to fuel my retirement because most loan officers are not financially healthy. Sorry, I got a fire truck going by outside. And so there's this constant guilt of like, well, I don't have work-life balance. And, I could very much get down on myself that I don't have 300 coaching clients and I'm still 10 pounds overweight. And my business partner and I have tension. I could really get down on myself if I bought into this whole like, oh, well, if I just followed the 22-year-old life coach on Instagram, I would have this perfect work-life balance and I'd have six-pack abs. It's all bullshit. So my thought on how you can manage it all is, throw yourself out of balance and be present, right? So when I'm on this call with you, Dan, I'm not over here checking my Outlook email to see what's going on, if that loan's going to fund. I'm not checking my phone. People pick up on that. You would know instantly if I was texting on the side when we were talking. Right. Same thing when I'm with my wife and kids. Like, I'm going to lose some deals, but I'm not willing to walk out of the Lion King that I'm experiencing with my 3-year-old son to take a call from a realtor that's like a hot lead to maybe get a deal. Fuck it. The lead can go away. Like, I'm in that moment, I'm going to be present. And same thing, if I'm out with the guys smoking a cigar and having time that helps keep my sanity, I don't feel bad about not being home with my wife, who's going to go to sleep without me going to bed with her. So, it's just a matter of accepting that we're always going to be out of balance. We're never perfect. But if whatever you're doing at that moment in time, you can be present, you won't have that endless nagging guilt of like, well, I'm not as good as this person, or I haven't figured this out, or I should be doing more. Why don't I run triathletes why don't I run triathlons like that other loan officer I saw who's killing it? Well, that guy might be one step shy of divorce, or the guy online who seems to have it totally wrapped up with their family. Maybe they're headed for bankruptcy, or you just never know. So
yeah, comparisons
brutal.
It is brutal, and I agree with you. I mean, balance is it's nice to be aware of when you're off balance a little bit, but
Right.
ambitious people like yourself are always striving to get better in life. So you want to continue to grow your business. You're frustrated that it's not as big as you would like it. You want to be a better father. You get frustrated that you weren't there at this point in time. You want to be a better spouse. You want to be in better shape. So we always strive for more, but I think what's important is just to be aware of, where when you get out of balance a little bit. I think it's important to focus a little bit more on my health, or boy, I got to spend this weekend with my spouse and really connect. So I think you got it dialed in, man. So what's next for you?
Well, first of all, if you have a Hispanic wife and an Irish business partner, they will just tell you when you're out of balance. That's tip number one. And sorry, you said what's next? What's next is just growth. Justin and I want to grow our personal business to 150 million. We want to grow the branch where we work with finding additional talent and growing talent. We want to grow that to another 250 to 350 million. We'd really like to be a $500 million branch within New American Funding. That way, we're effectively our own little mortgage company, and there's collective bargaining agreement that comes with just doing that much production.
So of the 500 million, you want your team to be doing 150 of it?
Yeah, Justin and I want to do 150 million in personal production, and then have the other, however many loan officers it takes, 8, 10, 12, 15, have them do another 350 million. That would be a big win for us, financially, ego-wise, the amount of people that we could help here in the branch. You've experienced this, Dan. There's some point where us going from 15 loans a month to 16 loans a month, there's no incremental increase in value or pleasure or really even financial reward. But seeing that loan officer who you helped go from 2 loans to 3 loans a month, and now, it changes his life and can buy a house, that's so much more rewarding.
That's why I'm doing this still. I mean, that
it's
is
crazy.
100% joy, is watching and helping people grow. So when are you going to get to 150 million?
I think there is a good chance next year, if the market holds. We've got some system things that we're working on. We've got some system refinements. Our company is rolling out a new loan operating system early next year that we think is really going to create some efficiencies. So I think 150 million next year is definitely within striking distance. And then, getting the coaching business up to 300 coaching members so that it makes enough financial sense that, my wife and my partner aren't mad at me with the amount of time that I spend on it.
Who manages your team?
That's a good question. So Justin and I manage our individual business. We have a really talented 29-year-old sales manager who's awesome, who's in the office. He's doing a lot of recruiting for us. He's doing a lot of the day-to-day grind of getting the loan officers out there in the field.
Does he produce?
He does produce. Yeah, his name's Edwin. He's very strong. And then we also have a operational manager that we've been interviewing for some time, and we think we've finally identified a candidate to bring on, because you know how it goes. At some point past 200 loans or 250 loans, you need that middle management level of operational expertise to, have the battles with underwriting, manage the pipeline, things like that. So, in a perfect world, Justin would manage the the structure of the loans. I would manage the lead generation. We would plug in some other quality loan officers and sales manager type people to handle, recruiting and motivation, and then just a top-notch operational manager to drive the pipeline.
I love it. Yeah, I'm structured similarly. I love that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get together offline to talk about how your company is structured. I might have to come up to Northern California and come see you.
That'd be great. Where are you in LA?
In Pasadena. I'm looking at the route that the Rose Parade goes down right now.
Yeah, yeah. My son lived in Glendale for a couple of years. Played baseball at the junior college down there, so I was down in Glendale and Pasadena quite a bit. Well, very good. So, Scott, I really appreciate your time today. Tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, whether to be coached or get on your waiting list or to get your book.
Yeah, I mean, easiest thing, Amazon. I think there's nothing you can't buy on Amazon. So lead generate 61 days to double your pay. The hard copy is out now. The Audible book will be out in the next couple of weeks. And then the Consolidated Coaching Facebook group is probably the best resource as far as getting engaged as a loan officer, kind of getting some free coaching, collaborating, and then seeing if, paid coaching. We're currently at $129 a month. Like I said, the cost point is the cost is insanely low. Everybody keeps telling me to raise it, but I just want to add as much value to as many loan officers as possible. So find us Consolidated Coaching and find the book on Amazon. And I think my personal cell phone number is still in there, which I'm going to have to get rid of that soon because the book's actually selling a lot of copies. So,
man, your name's been popping up everywhere. I don't know if it's because we're connected on social media or a lot of the same groups, but I mean, you're popping up everywhere. So I was really excited to have you be a guest on the show today, and you added an extreme amount of value, and I really look forward to getting to know you and collaborating a little bit on how we're each doing things and how we could help each other grow.
Cool, man. And just want to say thank you also for doing the Inspire Forward podcast. I know, because I've looked into it for myself, what a thankless job a podcast can be. And there's not a ton of revenue in it until you get a couple of years worth of traction. So congratulations on, taking on this journey and really trying to help people. It really bleeds through that everything you're doing is in order to try to help people, because let's be real, there's no financial gain in podcasts just yet.
Yeah, no, not at all. and I'm not doing it at all for financial benefit, but it was me stepping out of my comfort zone, quite frankly, and doing something that I hadn't done before, and that produced a little fear for me. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the growth. It's just part of the journey and my demand to continue to grow. So, Scott, it's been a real pleasure, and thank you so much for your time, and have a great August. I'm sure you're setting records every month.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll see ya.
Bye.